Hey, you've got Terry Funk here, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview.
You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the Interactive Interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Interactive Interview. Today, it's a special honor. We're joined here by the hardcore legend, Terry Funk, with a book by the same moniker. Terry, how you doing?
Doing great. How's everything going with you guys this morning?
Oh, we're doing great. It's an early morning for us, but it's a great honor to have you on the program, so we're glad to be here with you.
Well, I don't know what kind of an honor it is, but it's an honor to me to be talking to you guys, and
well, believe me.
Glad you gave me a call.
Well, believe me, it is an honor for us, absolutely. You're obviously a hardcore legend, but in addition to your new book, you're also going to be a part of the Wrestle Reunion this weekend. Are you looking forward to being a part of this?
Well, of course I am, because there's over 80 wrestlers going to be there, and I think that's a pretty big deal. I don't know how big of a deal it is to the fans, but it's a big deal to Terry Funk, and I know it's going to be a pleasure going ahead and seeing guys like Briscoe and Piper and just right on down the line. I mean, Dusty's going to be there, the fat egg-sucking dog, and just about everybody that that is still left alive and that I've been in the ring with. I'm looking forward to two things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward, well, really three things. Really important to me right now is the Wrestle Reunion.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cauliflower Alley is going to be a big hit this year, especially if Chavo Guerrero comes back. Just kidding about that.
Okay.
I think that was a very funny incident that happened last year, but that and the release of the book.
If you don't mind me asking, what happened last year with Chavo?
Well, Chavo's just nuts. He always has been, and I think it certainly caused a lot of talk about the Cauliflower Alley Club, and I don't think Chavo was necessarily trying to cause a lot of talk, but he certainly did. It was controversial, and sometimes controversy picks up business.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to go way back, and we're going to try to walk you through the years in an abbreviated fashion. But going back, obviously, you're from one of the most famous wrestling families of all time. When you were growing up, did you always want to be a wrestler, or was it something that you felt that your family imposed upon you? Or
Always.
Always?
I wanted to be a wrestler. Whenever I was 5 years old, other kids were wanting to play Cowboys and Indians. I was wanting to wrestle. And continued playing. It's a form of Cowboys and Indians, it's a form of that in its own way, and never stopped, I guess, playing Cowboys and Indians since I got into wrestling. It's been a real kick, it's been a real gig, and it's been just a blast for the last 35, 40 years.
Mr. Clancy?
On March 18th, 1971, you disguised yourself as the Masked Texan and you defeated Buddy Austin in a tournament to win the NWA Florida television title. And after the match, you revealed your identity as obviously Terry Funk. Any thoughts on how that angle went?
I thought it worked terrific. I thought it really did. I was the Texan. And what was really funny about it is I went down there and wrestled about 2 weeks as a Texan, and one time Jose Lothario happened to be out, and I was coming out of the dressing room, and he said, hey, it was really funny because we were coming out of the dressing room. He says, hey, Terry, come here, and I had the mask on. He just forgot, and I went ahead and I chewed him out. I said, Jose, don't say that. I am not Terry. I am the Texan now. Damn it, don't go ahead and make that mistake and do that again. So about 3 nights later, I was out there again, and people were coming up to me, and Jose and I were standing outside the dressing room, and somebody came up and said, hey, give me your autograph. I said, okay. But instead of signing the Texan, I wrote Terry Funk down there. Jose went ahead and poked me in the ribs. He said, look at that. He said, look at that. He said, you jump on me. He said, you write your name. And I, oh, my God. I forgot that I was a Texan.
Wow. Of course, you won the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. You won that title. How does that rank in your career highlights?
Well, it ranks right up there. the fight to get it was what was interesting, though. That was the real battle. It wasn't that night. The night was a culmination of it. The fight was getting the votes to obtain the title. And that was all behind the scenes.
Well, I'm sure that's going to be in the book.
It's discussed at length in the book.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I can't wait to read that book. You mentioned that, obviously I mentioned earlier that you were a part of the a second generation, obviously, and one of the most famous wrestling families of all time. Given today that you have people like Triple H that people put down saying that he didn't earn his spot and things like that, nepotism, did you ever face anybody that felt that way about you?
Well, I thought, I thought about nepotism a great deal, and because I was part of it, I loved it. And how I say that is that I would have never had it as easy as I did in the wrestling business if it wasn't for nepotism, because of my father and him being known throughout all of the territories in the country. It gave me a jump start in the profession. Had to do things right, had to be good at what I did, and my brother had to be good at what he did in order to continue to get the push. But it was definitely because of being a second-generation wrestler that, is the promoters throughout the country, and there was a lot of them at that time, approximately 30, 35 major promoters in different areas, controlling areas of the country and of the world that my father had already known and had ties with, and they knew the name whenever we got there. So that's a big jump start. And nepotism was wonderful to us. I think nepotism can also be a hindrance to others. If you take Dallas, for example, and all of this is discussed in the book, and I'm not going to say that again. But if you take Dallas, for example, and Fritz and his boys, that was nepotism in a bad way, and by pushing those kids too much and giving them too much too soon. Yeah. And that was, it created a situation where what else was there other than drugs? You go down to Florida, and there was nepotism a different way down there. It was Eddie Graham and his boy, and Eddie Graham was not about to have anybody say, hey, you're pushing your kid, and that's a form of nepotism, because he was harder on Mike Graham than anybody else. And our father was hard on us, too, believe me. He'd chew us out in front of the other wrestlers until we started bawling like babies, whenever we had a bad match. Eddie Graham was the same way. He was rough on Mike. And then you go to Tennessee, and you got nepotism up there, too, and a different form of nepotism, a form where it was just a bad situation in Tennessee than nepotism was up there.
Yes, absolutely. We have a debate going on the forums, almost a constant debate, comparing the WWF of the 80s to the NWA of the 80s. You worked in both promotions. What would you say the major differences were between the two?
Major difference?
Yes.
Is, I would say the major difference between the two would be chaos compared to a well-controlled business.
And which one would be the chaos? Just, I think I know the answer, but...
WCW.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a well-ran, well-oiled profession was New York at that time. And that's why they were able to go across the country like they did. And whenever I say that, you have, you have a well-oiled, a great organization, and a strong company, but there's still, it's kind of like a self-educated man, the wrestling business is, a self-educated man, he has absences in his education. And that's the same way the WWF was well-oiled. It was a great organization at that time, but still it had some terrible faults. And one of them was in controlling and of the wrestlers themselves at that time. It was and controlling the amount of work they were doing, and what an individual could actually take and endure on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a question coming in from the forums. Doesn't really involve you, but involves your brother. Why was Dory Funk Jr. called Haas Funk in the WWF? Was it because you look like the guy from Bonanza, or what?
What did Dusty Rhodes go up there as? I can't remember.
He wore polka dots and had a black girlfriend.
Yeah, and what was his name?
They called him Dusty. They called him the American Dream, but he had like a black girlfriend.
The polka dot baby or something like that.
Yeah.
It looked like he had measles or something. Dusty was, why did they do that to Dusty? It's just Vince's way, I guess. He just wanted to do that. Create something else instead of what you have. And I think that's bad as taking an individual, and not bad, but I think that sometimes if you've got an idiot that comes in there as a polka dot baby, you certainly don't want that idiot running around as a polka dot baby. If you can name him the American Dream and turn him into Dusty Rhodes and be a great box office success. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So sometimes guys don't have great ideas. And, their persona isn't a great persona that they have created. But the majority of the time, the individual creates a good persona for himself. And I think they ought to stick to that and stick to the what the individual is creating and doing. I think if that's part of the wrestling business. I think if that's part of the aura of it.
Yeah, I agree.
The boys and the participants becoming an extension of their own personality.
I definitely agree with that. And anyone who's followed your career, Terry, has known that you've been enormously successful in Japan as well as America. We'd like to know what it was like what's the differences between working in Japan as opposed to the United States?
The difference in working in the two?
Yeah. I guess, is the audience different and such?
Well, it's a work just like it is here in the States, so that's not different. A big difference is just the presence of wrestling within the company, within the country, and how it is looked at. That is what's really important over there and different. Wrestling provides for thousands of people in Japan. It provides for hundreds here in the States.
Yeah.
So therefore, it is covered much better. In other words, you have people that write wrestling books over there. You have people that interview wrestlers. You have the media, the press that there's no telling how many books that are put out on a weekly basis or monthly basis on wrestling over there. You have television shows that are dependent on it over there. You have, it is a followed way of life in Japan that has been a heritage and has a long existence over there as far as national is concerned. And over here it does not. And that's the main difference.
In 1989, you feuded with the Nature Boy Ric Flair.
Yeah.
In what was a great feud that culminated in an I Quit match. And we'd like to know, any thoughts on working with Rick?
Any thoughts on what?
Working with Rick?
Can truly say this, that Rick is one of the truly great workers in the business and still continuing to prove himself that way. As I just watched him last night against Orton, had an exceptional match with him, Ric Flair is a great, super in-ring performer and possibly one of the greatest interview guys. I would say right now he is. I wouldn't say in the past he was. There was a lot of great interview guys. But he does a good job on an extemporaneous interview.
Hey everybody, this is Ricky Steamboat, and you are listening to the Interactive Interview.
Welcome back to the interactive interview on WrestlingEpicenter.com. For those of you wondering what happened to the remainder of the Terry Funk interview, like I said earlier in the show, contractual agreements prevent me from airing that section of the interview, but the transcript will contain it, so if you're listening and you did not hear that earlier, that's why you did not hear that part. But the Bill Apter interview is in full, and we will not be missing any parts of any other interviews. Sound good?
Yes, James.
We're joined by Missy Hyatt.
I wish, but yeah. So they're good interviews. Bill was really fun. I mean, I'm not saying that Terry wasn't. It was really interesting. But with Bill, we could just cut back and be like, hey,
I think we could do that a little bit more often. Actually, I actually enjoyed it because when we stopped recording with Terry, and I don't mean just stop recording for the radio. When we stopped recording, period, we started just shooting the breeze,
Yeah.
And just chatting and Terry.
Pick up his book, everybody, by the way.
It doesn't come out until March 15th, according to
what it does.
Yes, and I'll put a link up on the transcript so you can click and buy it just through the website. Also, when it comes out, I'll also put that up in the shop once I get that up and running. We're working on it. I'll put the little shop up. I'll have all the items that our guests are trying to sell. For example, Ric Flair's book. For example, Chris Jericho's All That Remains. Have you heard that one song, Eric?
Yeah, I have.
What'd you think?
It's pretty good.
Yes, and I'll be honest.
I like a lot of Fozzie's covers.
I do too. Fozzie's covers. You mean the cover of the albums or the covers of the songs? Ha ha ha. Pardon me.
If you make a joke like that again, this will be. Oh no, I'm just kidding.
Uh-oh, we're joined by Ric Flair now.
Let's not get started on Rick right now. There's a lot of listeners that like Rick, so let's.
Yeah, I like Rick. I don't. Well, actually, I respect Rick. I don't like Rick.
Yeah. I mean, I respect Rick,
But let's not get into that. Anyway, this coming week, we have the Royal Rumble.
We do have the Royal Rumble, and judging if I'm actually allowed to get a headshot this weekend for acting, I may be able to see Royal Rumble. I'm not sure. So, it's, I mean, obviously the drawing point of every Royal Rumble is the Royal Rumble. This has one of the stronger title matches, I think, I'd say since, let me go count back. What did we have last year? Last year's was pretty good. I don't know, it's one of the stronger world title matches on the card.
I would say, and of course you're talking about the Cruiserweight title match, right?
We are talking about it. El Dandy will be defending against, no, we're obviously talking about the...
You know who he's defending against?
El Gato.
El Gato! No. We're talking, of course, about the Randy Orton against Triple H title match, and the reason that there's a lot of build-up around that one, and that there's a lot of interest between Eric and I in this match, is that neither of us can really figure where it's going to go.
This will decide WrestleMania. They're pushing hard for Randy as far as getting him, so it may be Triple H wins, which common knowledge would say. I don't know. They may do that. They may not do that. The title of Raw was Randy is Ready, and everybody, you saw Raw at the end, pinned Flair with the RKO after essentially beating both guys. Triple H interfering, Rick in the match, RKOing Flair, then standing on the ring with the belt just pointing to Triple H. It was well done. I don't know. I'd like to see Randy win. I really would.
Bill brings up a good point, though. Bill Apter brought up a real good point, and that point is, where do you go with the character now? Because he's been a strong heel and he's been a strong face. I personally don't know where they go. I just think they can continue going.
They can go anywhere, though.
They can. I think you just keep him a strong face. I don't think you have to do anything.
No, although I can see his character is similar to Shawn Michaels, 1996. Number one, by the way, they kind of push more of a him thing with Stacy, and crowd still cheered. But for me, and I think most people would agree, Orton coming down to save the damsel in distress is not the character.
They did that again?
Cheer. What? Yeah, well, yeah. Triple H was attacking her, and Randy saved her.
He hit her or no?
No, he was about to pedigree her, and Randy came down.
So she was bent over?
We all liked is the guy in his video in the nightclub who's making out with like 10 women at once. I mean, he's the that guy. He's the cocky jerk but now he's a face. That's the character we do enjoy. So hopefully they'll put a curve on the Stacy Keibler character. I mean, this Stacy Keibler bit.
What does Tess think of it?
What?
What does Tess think of this? Tess.
Well, he wheeled over the TV and he looked at the company that fired him while he was injured, and no, but.
And he's mad as hell, and he's not going to take it anymore.
So, yeah, so that's where we are right now. I think, I don't know.
I just don't, and the problem is you can't go that white meat baby face with them, and plus there's something about, and maybe it's just me, there's something about not liking a guy that gets the hottest girl. You know, that's why I wasn't in the cool club in high school. I wasn't a geek because I'd actually fight back, and I make that perfectly clear. But I wasn't a jock. I wasn't preppy. I was sort of just there. I hated the guys that... What'd you say?
I would have made fun of you in high school.
I don't think so.
Go ahead, though.
You would have been one of the people that made fun of me that I beat up.
Okay, go ahead.
Where were we? Anyway, so I'm just saying, you know, I always hated the jocks that got the really, really, really hot girls. And I think that's kind of what the wrestling audience thinks when they see a guy with a hot girl.
That was the backlash against one of the reasons against the backlash against Shawn's character in '96. But I think what they can do eventually with Randy, and the same thing they did with Shawn, is they can turn him heel very effectively after that. I mean, if you remember, Shawn's character back then was always basically an '80s hair metal ladies man, and but he was playing up the positive aspects, like, you know, I'm the good guy, blah 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 blah. In '97, when he turned, he became the other side of the '80s hair metal guy. He became the guy who would steal your girlfriend and beat the shit out of you. Beat the crap out of you right in front of her, and just make fun of you the whole time. And that character really worked. It really struck a chord with a lot of people. And, you know, he would always be chewing gum in your face. And, you know, it was a character that they exploited very well, and I mean that in a good way. I think you could probably do the same thing with Randy Orton eventually. You really, right now, though, I think they got something good going with the face run, though. I think he works well with Triple H, with the game, and I don't know. I don't think Triple H and Batista is a WrestleMania main event.
It'd be tough to do that, and here's why. I'm not sure, and Batista has improved tremendously, and I will not deny that he hasn't.
Okay, you haven't seen Raw yet, but watch the match. I mean, granted, I don't like the booking of the him versus La Resistance, but he works like friggin' Goldberg in that match, and I mean it very positively.
Does he?
Because, you know, our knock on him was always he doesn't know what he's going to do. He doesn't know if he's going to be the monster or the guy who gets beat up. He knows exactly what he's going to do in that match, and he does a good job. The crowd is with him 100%, and he's just destroying everybody. It works very well.
You know what's ironic about that, though, and if you think about this psychology-wise, Batista is supposed to be technically a heel, and La Resistance are supposed to be heels, and they're booking him in a match against a heel tag team, so that obviously he's supposed to be getting the face reaction.
Yeah. Well, and they got a cool chant going from it. It's like Batista. I mean, it sounds cooler when a bunch of people do it and they're invigorated, not like me just sitting here. But it's a pretty cool chant. But he works very well in that match. I'll give you credit. I mean, I'll give him credit. But I still don't think Triple H versus Batista is that type of main event. I'll tell you right now. I honestly, and this is not because this is a match that I've been saying was going to be the WrestleMania main event since September, but I really believe deep down in my heart, Orton versus Edge for the world title can be epic. And I mean epic in the sense of Shawn versus Austin at WrestleMania 14. You know, I mean, obviously not like Andre and Hulk, but like Brett and Owen matches, epic like that, big matches. So I really think they can pull off something like that at the grand stage of WrestleMania.
Yes, but the only flaw that I see in that is that we've seen the match already. But then at this point,
the match already, but they've never wrestled for the world title.
Yes, and if they do go that route, and I don't know that they will,
First of all, if Triple H loses the belt, you can still have Triple H, Batista, and Randy against somebody.
Yeah, I think if Randy wins the belt this Sunday, there's a 60% chance that it's going to be Randy and Edge at WrestleMania, and a 40% chance it will be Randy versus Batista versus
Triple H. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of another idea of doing another three-way main event.
Yeah.
I kind of like to see, and Michaels added a hell of a lot to that match, but when you think back to that match, and this is not to knock Michaels at all, because I think he did a fantastic job in the match, people just think of Triple H and Benoit.
Well, unfortunately, that match was supposed to tell three different stories. Triple H defending his world title and being the only heel to ever win at WrestleMania and trying to do that again. Benoit completing his 18-year journey, and Shawn settling that score with Triple H. Unfortunately, and I'm sorry if you're in the audience, and I hope this doesn't offend you, even though I know it will, but the fans were too stupid to get that. The third story, fantastic with the getting into the match with Benoit, because I popped too, and I was cheering for Shawn the whole time. But there's a point, and this just shows me when in-ring psychology just goes over the head.
Well, what they did perfectly, and if I could just jump in there, is I'm not even sure if they did it right on TV, or if they just did it right, period, in the promotion of the thing. You knew how hard Benoit worked to get to that level.
Yeah.
His entire career.
Yeah.
And when he's headlining WrestleMania, you knew it was special.
Well,
you know, Triple H has been there. Michaels has been there. This is the first year he was there, and you were watching, A, to see if he fit, and he did.
Yeah.
And B, you were also watching because you wanted, deep down, whether you like him or hate him, you wanted him to win.
Yeah. When Triple H taps out, it may not have been the biggest reaction, but it was one of the most passionate responses I've ever heard from a crowd.
Yes.
And it was a special moment. That tap out, give credit to Triple H too, will go down as one of the greatest WrestleMania moments of all time without question.
And I just remember that's burned in my memory for good.
Yeah, it is.
You have Benoit on the middle turnbuckle playing to the crowd with the music in the background, holding the belt in the air.
That music fit so perfectly, by the way.
And that, you got that going right there, right at the right moment, and that was perfect timing. It just felt like a moment. You knew you were watching something special that night.
Yeah, but there was a point in that match when Benoit gets, and this actually served Benoit well, because when they suplexed him and then JR was playing like he was dead, like he was not going to be able to compete, Shawn's in the ring, bloodied, battered, Benoit's out of the way, Triple H is on the outside, Shawn lifts his arms up to say, come on, and you realize it's going to be Shawn and Triple H one-on-one finally. They're going to get it on. The fans were deaf and blind to that. And, it was just like, it was an example of a story going over over a group of fans' heads.
It's Simon and Swinger breaking up and the crowd's chanting ICP.
Yeah, it's like that. If you like ICP, that's fine. I had no problem with those people chanting Benoit or booing when they thought Benoit might lose to Shawn. That's fine. But I mean, the guys are trying. He's not even involved in the friggin' thing right now. I mean, chill out. I don't like dictating crowds, even though it may seem like it if you hear me talk. But it was a well-told story that wasn't received in the way it should have been.
Well, the only thing that and I will rip on a crowd for this. No. How disrespectful is a crowd chanting "You effed up" at a wrestler?
Yeah, well, I pointed this out. They did it, and I've always ECW's like, oh, it's in terms of endearment. No, guess what? Guess who you are? You're a fan. You go to the matches and you watch. You don't bust your ass at all. These guys are out there working hard, and they mess up. Ooh, fantastic. But he messed up. Yeah, I feel awkward when somebody does it. I'm like, oh man, But guess what? Everybody's not going to be perfect.
You know what? When I see a guy mess up a move, I'm just thinking, well, I'm glad he didn't break his neck.
Yeah, and also, hey, look at all the other moves he did before he didn't mess up. So
especially with what ECW wrestlers did, they were a lot of aerial maneuvers that involved a lot of balance. And I'd like to see any of these crowd members do anything that these guys do.
Yeah, guess what? You're on your ass, and you're watching a match. You're not in the ring. You're not training like these guys do. So guess what? Keep your mouth shut when that happens. I do hate when that happens.
I just think it's very disrespectful. You have to respect them. And if the guy screws up often, like, example, I'll go back to a match. I believe it was Desire against somebody. I don't remember, from TNA. And I think it was Desire. She kept falling off the ropes, and she just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And the crowd was just really hard on her. And I'm thinking to myself, here's a woman, she's probably about 30. She's got 2 kids. She's trying to make a living. And these people are just really ripping on her. Now, I could see being angry about somebody messing up a move several times, but people have feelings, man. Calm down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I'm going to switch the subject really quick with this. I mean, people feel bad enough. I'm a Jets fan. A while ago, Doug Bryan missed 2 field goals. You know, I was pretty angry. I went onto a Jets message board, and they were like, "Hey, let's go to his website and email him." Okay, because I'm sure he doesn't know I'm sure he doesn't feel really bad anyway. I mean, cut the guy a break. I mean, I'm sure when these guys screw up, I hope there's someone around to remind them for the rest of their lives that they screwed up. I mean, chill out. We weren't even in the friggin' AFC Championship. I mean, yeah, he missed 2 field goals, and I was pissed as hell. But just let it go. Get on with your life. I mean,
well, you don't think that, you know, first of all, they were away, were they not, in that game?
Yeah.
So what do you think they were talking about in the bus and plane ride back? What do you think his teammates were treating him like?
They probably didn't say anything.
They probably weren't exactly thrilled with him. You know, I'm sure they're professional.
In those instances, you don't say any, guys don't say anything to kickers because there's nothing that can be said.
Right.
I mean, you know, unfortunately, and granted, we're going to get right back to wrestling, but unfortunately, kicker's one of the hardest jobs in football because if you do well, you know, yeah. But I mean, if you screw up, granted, he was on a rough field. The offensive play calling, for some reason, they had Chad take a knee, which took him further away from the field goal. But you know, I mean, this is once again, this is a wrestling show. Sorry to get off topic, but yeah. So let's get back to the Royal Rumble, though. There is the 3-way match: JBL versus Big Show and versus Angle. Big Show must have been the only person in the world who didn't see himself getting set up on SmackDown last week. By the way, we're recording this on Tuesday.
So they're probably taping this week's SmackDown as we talk
right now. By the way, if you want to go check out the greatest video ever, check out either pictures or a video of Joy from SmackDown. Dave Shearer pointed this out in his No Name show, but
on PWInsider.com.
Yeah, she looks great. And by the way, thank you very much for the publicity, PW Insider. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Dave Shearer, and thank you to the crew over at PW Insider. We appreciate it.
You guys, we owe you big time.
Yeah. So. Yeah, so, I mean, she was incredible there. I mean, I like Dave Shearer said, I forgot she had a face.
This is Joy?
Yeah.
Isn't this the same one from the Diva Search?
Yeah.
I thought the Diva Search one's only the winner got on TV.
Well, no, and you knew that wasn't.
There's 3 people. Now there's 3 people that
By the way, bring up Alexis Lurie. She can wrestle, and she's hot. You don't think she's hot?
She's all right.
She's all right.
She's also not that great of a worker.
Better than a lot of women wrestlers.
She doesn't do much. I mean, everybody said here's why everybody says Alexis Lurie was so good. She was working in titty club matches. She was working with G.I. Ho and others. And next to that, almost anybody would look good. But when
G.I. Ho sounds incredible.
She's actually a big star in Women's Extreme Wrestling, which Queen of Extreme Francine's a part of. She plays a army slut.
Really? Geez, with G.I. Ho is the name. I really wasn't going to guess that.
Yes.
But, back to the Royal Rumble. I don't mind the match in itself. It doesn't interest me, but it doesn't disgust me like Heidenreich and Undertaker. No offense to Undertaker.
No offense to Heidenreich either. I just don't think his character's been. I don't think he's been given the opportunity.
I don't think he's a good worker.
No, I won't go that far.
You what? You said it the other day. You didn't think you thought he was one of the worst wrestlers of the year.
Well, you got to take into account, and I'm not trying to offend the individuals because I know that they might come on the show one day. What I'm saying here is the wrestler that he is, I haven't really had the opportunity to see it because who have they put him in the ring with? Just the Undertaker, and those matches have been all right. But let's see.
The Undertaker.
Yeah, let's see who. I want to see if he can do it against somebody else, and they never put him in the ring with anybody else. So.
Oh, I've seen him work a few matches. I mean, it's not.
It's not the worst, but
No, but it's about as bad as you can get in this day and age. No offense to Heidenreich. He'd probably rip off my head, but I doubt he's listening.
if he is listening, just for God's sakes, man, put on a different pair of tights. Maybe like a pair of pants.
Give Heyman the microphone. But back to the Royal Rumble. I don't mind the match per se, but I mean, what unless JBL wins, what's the point? You know? I mean, I see absolutely no point of having it on Angle. I see even less of a point having it on Big Show. JBL needs to lose that thing at WrestleMania, and there should be no interruption between now and then. So that's really all I have to say about that match. I predict JBL is going over, but something in the back of my head says Angle may.
And if that happens, then that would be just terrible.
It would be terrible because it'd be a waste.
Don't you waste my time, woman. Is that from something?
Yeah.
What's it from?
What?
All right, keep going.
Okay. Also on that card will be Edge versus Shawn Michaels. Now, regardless of us thinking this booking is too fast, which
it is,
frankly it is, they're going to put on a hell of a show.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're not bookers. They're not the bookers.
Are they going to get the time? That's the question.
I don't know. I know that if there's anyone who can work a very good 12-minute match, it's Shawn Michaels.
Yes, and Edge is pretty good himself.
Oh yeah, Edge is good. I just don't know if he's at that level to be able to tell a story in that short of time.
Edge is a lot better than he gets credit for. I'll say that.
Oh, I know. I have the utmost respect for Edge, and I think he is one hell of a worker. And I think from what I gather from his autobiography and just things I've heard about him is he sounds like a very nice guy too. So and I
love the fact that he's playing the frustrated guy right now, because doesn't he look like his eyes are going to actually burst in his head?
He's playing the character to the hilt. He's doing a great job. But I'm sorry anyone who thinks his 2001 character was the best, but this is the best character he's ever had.
What was his 2001 character? Was he sarcastic?
Yeah, he was just like sarcastic. I mean, I really liked his 5-second pose character, but this is credible towards the main event. But yeah, so we got that match. I predict Shawn going over in the match, and I believe Edge will win the Rumble, or at least eliminate Shawn from the Rumble. And then number one contenders match at
I think Michaels wins the match, and I think Edge wins the Rumble.
They're pushing Edge like he's going to win the Rumble. Like Shawn says, go out there and win the damn thing twice.
Right.
Which I like how he put the twice in.
Because he wants to put over his own accomplishments.
Yeah. Which is, I guess why don't we, there's not really too much to talk about, but I think, I don't know, I got a okay idea. Do you want to take a look at Royal Rumbles gone by and some great memories?
Sure. I mean, let's go back to the first one, which was one, I don't know if you remember this, not Big John Studd, but the first one was actually on free TV, and it was won by
Jim Duggan?
Ho! Yes, Hacksaw. Hacksaw won it all, and then the second year was Big John Studd, which...
Yeah, let's talk about pay-per-views, though.
Big John Studd, nobody expected that.
No. When did they institute the title shot?
Well, Hogan won it in 90, and he was also world champion. Now, I don't know why. I think maybe Warrior should have won it.
Let's see here. I will...
And then Hogan won it again in 91, where he eliminated Yoke.
And then he got the world title shot.
And then he got the world title shot, but it wasn't like a guaranteed thing there, because they did a press conference, and they had like all the top contenders to the world title. They had Piper there, they had Sid there, they had Macho Man there. They were all sitting there, and Hogan got it. Let's see. Who else?
Also in '91, I enjoyed the title match between Slaughter and Warrior. It's one of the few times I think Warrior worked a good match.
Warrior worked a lot of good matches, I think. Well, I really just think he had a lot of good matches. I mean, he was a, I don't know what you think of him, but I think it was not really until he worked with Rick Rude that he learned, well, first of all, I don't have to actually smash into somebody to clothesline them. I can take it easy on him a little bit.
Okay, well, we're going to agree to disagree on that. But Sergeant Slaughter and him had a pretty good match which set up both Slaughter and Hogan, and Mr. Ultimate Warrior versus Savage in a match where Warrior took 8,000 elbow drops at WrestleMania. Also, a match that I know you are quite fond of, and I think it's a great match. The Rockers versus the Orient Express was at 91.
No, that was the Royal Rumble 91.
That's
what we're talking about. Sorry. Yes, that was actually a fantastic tag match. You know, Sean talks about that match in his shoot interview, and to the Hardy Boys, believe it or not. And he says that they thought that they were dinosaurs compared to them. To be honest with you, I think that match stands the test of time. There was a lot of double team spots, which I will give the NWA credit, which I don't do often, that you saw a lot of great tag team maneuvers used in the NWA. Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express, and, you know, before they were the Legion of Doom, they were the Road Warriors, and they did that Doomsday device back then, which was, you know, for that time especially, and still today.
That's still a cool move.
It's still a damn impressive move.
The Dudleys do it, actually. It's called the Dudley device.
Yeah, it was originally called the Doomsday device.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying they do it now.
Well, yeah, because they're so original. They even stole the power bomb through the table from the Eliminators. No, from the Pitbulls. I apologize. That was a Pitbull move before it was a Dudley Boys move.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I know that.
Yep.
But yeah, good match.
Did one of the Pitbulls die? I think the bald one died.
Maybe, I'm not sure. We head now to Royal Rumble 92.
92.
I know you're big on the Roddy Piper versus Mountie match, but I think from a historical standpoint, I think the biggest match from that is the Royal Rumble match itself.
The Rumble. Everybody was ready to...
about Piper and Mountie.
Rumble in front of me. Didn't Hogan used to say that a lot?
Yeah.
I'm gonna rumble down the road, brother.
I mean that match had so many stars in it. It had obviously
absolutely. You had Hogan, you had Sid, you had
Flair, Martel, Michaels, Piper.
I believe that's the Royal Rumble where Martel clearly flies over the top rope and gets back in, and nobody notices it.
Well, Austin did that in '97.
He flew over the top, and was it part of the angle?
Yeah, it was part of the angle.
I think Martel actually just went over the top.
What?
I think Martel just clearly went over the top, and it was an accident. He wasn't supposed to hit the floor, but he did.
Oh, okay.
And he just kind of slid back in, and Gorilla and Bobby just completely ignore it.
Huh.
It was either 91 or 92.
It was probably 92. Yeah, so that's a great match. Flair does his job also in that match, or like Undertaker, Kerry Von Erich, Slaughter,
just a fan.
I think.
I believe so. It was absolutely fantastic. You know, they were, that was probably the best assortment of stars from the past 20 years right there.
Yeah, it was pretty good, yeah.
You also can talk about, 1993 one by Yokozuna. This was not one of my favorite Rumbles, but if I'm not mistaken, it was Brett against Razor Ramon in the world title match.
It was, yeah. Razor submitted to the
Sharpshooter. Yeah, it was a pretty good match, actually.
I think the match on that card, and I mean, I'm not saying, it's not a great card by any means, but this match certainly doesn't compare to later matches between the two. But Shawn Michaels versus Marty Jannetty was a good match.
Was that 93 or 94? 93?
93. 94 was Shawn just interfered in the match with Razor and IRS.
Yes.
A good match. You could tell Heenan and Monsoon were really getting into that one. It was.
Well, what was surprising, and you could hear this in the archives, Marty says that Vince was disappointed in the match.
Yeah, well, apparently they were putting on products that were a lot better than that.
Marty, I'm very disappointed.
What?
Marty, I'm very disappointed, and I think that you should be ashamed of yourself. Now go stick your head in the oven, and I'll be there in an hour.
I'm Vince McMahon. Yeah, I think the match, the whole Raw where Marty comes back and beats Shawn for the title is so well done. But this is a good match. It really is. It was pay-per-view quality. It still is pay-per-view quality, to tell you the truth. They space out their spots. Very good. Royal Rumble, obviously, Yokozuna won, last eliminating Savage. And, yeah, so...
I think he kicked out of an elbow drop, and Savage went over the top of the kick out.
Huh. I actually don't remember that match very.
It was not one of the better Royal Rumbles, I don't think. 2000. I don't think 1993 was. 1994 was fair. I don't really remember what the undercard was like. I just remember the finish, which would be, it would be more special now if they didn't do that every Battle Royal now.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we'll talk about the finish in the world title match. Well, the world title match was Yokozuna versus The Undertaker in a casket match, which if you're watching the Royal Rumble now, they're essentially doing the same thing with Undertaker and Heidenreich. Yokozuna was afraid of caskets. He was afraid of The Undertaker in this one, and people were actually believing that Undertaker could walk out of this with the World Heavyweight title. And the end of this match actually set up the Undertaker versus Undertaker feud that I thought was vastly underrated. Match aside, I thought the angle itself was good of two Undertakers. But at the end of
Did that make WrestleCrap?
It did make WrestleCrap.
Yes, I
we're
actually...
talking about the book, obviously, WrestleCrap.
We're going to try to get R.D. Reynolds on the show.
Yeah, so...
So everyone knows, I just actually sat down and watched the WrestleCrap tape that he released.
He has a WrestleCrap tape?
Yeah, it was from the early 90s.
Huh.
And it has, like, Samba Simba, which was Tony Atlas's...
Yeah.
Horrible gimmick. But, you know, he has clips of this stuff. Some of the stuff he puts in there, I don't think was bad.
Yeah, it's not.
I think he exaggerates it as
RD
bad.
has, and with all due respect to him, has a different opinion than you and I do of things. He's more...
I don't think he understands you need characters.
Yeah. Well, I mean, granted, I'd love to talk to him about this because I had a few issues with what he wrote, but granted, it is a good book. Pick it up. It's a good read.
This is the Death of WCW or WrestleCrap?
No, this is the Death of WCW. I'm going to pick up very soon, but it's the WrestleCrap. You can find it on WrestleCrap.com, I believe. If not, just Google search it. And it's whether you agree with it or not doesn't make it a bad read. I didn't agree with a lot of things Flair said in his book. It's a great read. Same with this. Pick it up. It's definitely a nice. It's a lot of cool stuff that you could that was gone, days gone by, that you can just check out. But yeah, check it out, and hopefully we'll have RD on. We can talk about it. But
is he British by chance or no?
I think he probably is. I'm not sure. I don't know.
I'll have to find that out because I'd like to talk to him, but if I did, I'd have to get a phone card. That's the only thing I'm thinking. Anyway.
Back to, so at the end of the casket match, Zuna beats Undertaker because literally 12 people come in the ring.
And which first of all, that makes Yokozuna world champion, so he's strong regardless. And the Undertaker looks like it took 12 people to beat him.
Yeah, because even during the 12, he was still fighting back. I mean, there was Tatanka came in, Ten Ryu or whatever his name is, the other Kabuki or whatever. Jeff Jarrett came in, Wang came in. I want to say Crush. A lot of guys came in. Diesel eventually came in. It just seemed like they couldn't do anything, and they weren't even stopping him. All 12 guys were getting nailed back, which really was paid off for the Undertaker character because in later years you could reap dividends from that. But they finally threw the urn down, and the smoke came out of it. And obviously, as we all know, the urn contained the Undertaker's parents that were burned in the fire, and that's where his power came from. So then he was eventually put in the casket. Not a bad match. It was told the story, worked well. And then, of course, the Royal Rumble match.
Which, like I said, the ending would have been a lot more special had they not done the same ending at the end of every Battle Royal in the past, 2 years, 3 years.
Recently done by Edge and Benoit.
And it was also done last year by, I think, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it Benoit and Cena in 2003?
You mean on SmackDown?
Yes.
I didn't watch SmackDown during that brief period, but...
I believe it was 2003. I want to say it was Benoit and Cena. They did the thing.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't dispute that.
Yeah.
Fun trivia question. If you want to email us about it, then whatever. But
post it on the forums.
Yes, post it on the forums.
All right,
forums, everybody. Bret Hart and Luger obviously won. Shawn Michaels being eliminated last. Shawn did a fantastic job of thinking people were going to push him out. Diesel set a then record of eliminating about 7 people, I believe. So
yeah.
it was a fair Rumble, and it set up a good WrestleMania. So let's head on to 1995.
1995.
What?
95.
That's what I said, didn't I?
You said 80.
I think I said 90, but we'll hear it later.
Okay.
Intercontinental title match. Jarrett and Razor Ramon. Please say what you will about this about these matches.
The only thing I could say about those two, and I love Jarrett, I love Razor, I love Scott Hall, you know that. Every time they worked together, they had a formula that they followed. It was the same match, just a different formula, you know? That was the truth in WWF. They fought a couple times in WCW, that was what it was. And they fought in TNA, and that's what it was. It was just the same formulaic match. You know, Scott Hall gets him in the sleeper, he goes down, Jarrett fights out of it. They shoulder block each other, they're down, and somehow it ends either in a razor's edge or Jarrett somehow slips out.
The elbows.
What'd you say?
You forgot the elbows.
Oh, yeah.
Elbow drops.
It's just formulaic.
Of course, this was Jarrett's first Intercontinental title win, beating Razor. And, you know, it set up their match.
This is 95.
Set up very nicely at WrestleMania 11. And then, of course, we had the World Heavyweight title match, Diesel versus Brett. Not one of their better matches. They fought to a no contest. I think their best match would be, obviously, the match in which
Survivor
Brett goes through
Series.
the table at Survivor Series.
Because it was that had never been done on WWE before.
But that will be for our Survivor Series retro.
Which is quite a few months away.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
And then the Royal Rumble, a fairly good one, but I think it was only about 38 minutes because they shortened it. Shawn won, and it popularized the rule of both feet having to hit the ground because him and Bulldog, I don't know if many people know that Bulldog was also, Shawn was number 1, but Bulldog was number 2, and they remained until the end. So Bulldog threw him out, and one of Shawn's feet hit the ground, and then they said, you know, they started playing his music. Shawn comes from behind and dumps Bulldog over the top rope, and then Shawn wins, and then they say, oh, yeah, and then since then they've really called that the Shawn Michaels rule.
Right.
But,
and of course, if you want to fast forward to 1996, Michaels wins again. If I'm not mistaken, was it Brett and Undertaker in that card?
Yeah, well, let's get to that one right now. Yeah, Royal Rumble 96, not that bad. Triple H and Duke the Dumpster had a decent match for a free-for-all. And what else was on that card? Another Razor Ramon loses the Intercontinental title for the second year in a row.
This time to Goldust, right?
Yeah, and bringing his Royal Rumble record to a very disappointing, I believe it's 0-3.
Wow.
But yeah, so Goldust beats him, and that was the time I was in I think middle school at that time, and Goldust, everybody was like, Goldust has a picture of Razor Ramon on a tattoo, and he's in love with him. And you know, we were just little kids, so we were just kind of creeped out by Goldust. So that was a really.
I'll tell you what, though, if he was having Marlena, I'd like to be as gay as he is.
I mean, that was an innovative gimmick.
Because it was bizarre, you know.
Yeah, but it set new standards for wrestling.
Yeah, because it was so ambiguously gay, but not very ambiguous, you know.
Yeah, because you had Marlena there the whole time. So
which was it was like, well, is that a guy? What the hell?
Yeah. So.
But you couldn't mistake her for a guy, let's be honest.
The Royal Rumble match was won, obviously, like you said, by Shawn Michaels. He last eliminated Diesel. Now, and I want to touch on this whole period of time. Diesel turned heel right after or right at Survivor Series 95. But before that, him and Shawn, when they were both faces, were friends. They became friends again. The cool thing I liked about it was Shawn and Diesel remained friends, despite the fact that Shawn was a face and Diesel was a heel. Because I don't like when in things when they're like, oh, well, now we're faces, so we're friends, even though we battled to the death 2 months ago. So I thought that was cool. And in this match, this begins kind of the snap between them, because Shawn eliminates Diesel last, and then a few weeks later, Diesel smacks Shawn in the back with a chair in a tag match against Undertaker and Brett. So that was cool. And of course, you have the main event, the World Heavyweight title match. The Undertaker defeats Bret the Hitman Hart by DQ because Diesel comes in and attacks the Undertaker, which leads to Undertaker and Diesel at WrestleMania 12. So
yep.
That's Royal Rumble 96.
97 was a really
invasion of the Luchadors.
Is that what it was?
They had so many Luchadors in the Royal Rumble.
Huh.
Hector Garza was actually in it, I think.
He was the one dealing crack in the corner. Hola, you want some crack, chulo? Pardon me.
The Royal Rumble isn't that spectacular. Austin wins it.
The crowd was pretty impressive, though. But I would say that the main match in that one was Michaels against Sid.
Yeah. Obviously, Shawn is coming back to his hometown, San Antonio, to win the title from Sid, and he is cheered out of the building.
Yeah, he got a great reaction that night.
And, you know, that was a very good match. The crowd's really into it, and Shawn hits Sid with the camera to get the belt back.
Which is ironic because that's how Sid hurt Jose Lothario.
Yeah, in Survivor Series 96 when Sid won the title.
Yep.
And Austin wins the Rumble. He's thrown out, and then Brett throws Vader out, and Austin gets back in the ring, throws Brett out. And that's just, I mean, granted their feud started at around Survivor Series, but it was really escalated during this point. And next up is one of the better Rumbles of all time.
98?
Royal Rumble 98.
It was all right.
Yeah, right.
That's when Michaels breaks his freaking back, just about.
Yeah.
At the casket
they
match.
start off with Vader versus Goldust in the match that's been brewing since Survivor Series, so, you know, they had a little build-up there. Then a really good Intercontinental title match with The Rock versus Shamrock in a match, because they were doing great Flair-type title matches with Rock and Shamrock, where they would have The Rock would go on to he would essentially look like he was at the brink of a defeat, then get disqualified or something would happen. In this instance, him and Shamrock had a great match, and Rock hits Shamrock in the face with brass knuckles, then slips the brass knuckles into his tights, goes for the pin. Shamrock kicks out. Shamrock suplexes him, gets him in the ankle lock, and Rock submits. And you think Shamrock wins the title, but guess what? Rock says, check his tights. He finds the brass knucks, and Rock wins by DQ, which is essentially kind of the thing they did at WrestleMania when Shamrock keeps him in the ankle lock for too long, so the referee reverses the decision and gives the title back to Rock.
Huh.
I thought it was a well-done match.
That was a well-done feud, actually.
Yeah. Austin wins the Royal Rumble, last eliminating The Rock. Everybody knew Austin was going to win it. He was just attacking everybody going into there. This is another instance of a Rumble which incorporates a lot of the smaller feuds with each other. Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie were teammates, and they obviously, you know, fought around in that. Let's see, Triple H was not actually in it because he was injured, but he pulled Owen Hart out, and they were feuding. So that was an intertwined feud. Of course, Rock and Austin battled in the thing. And then the casket match, which is, I think, what everybody knows this Rumble for. Not only does Shawn break his back on the casket, but at the end, of course, they're teasing that Kane was going to come in and save The Undertaker. And, of course, Undertaker, leading up to this, was like, you know, the only time I lost a casket match, which is not true, he lost another one, but we'll get to that later, was when 7 guys, or 12 guys, whatever, dropped me into that casket, and I don't see 12 guys in DX. So Shawn was like, yeah, whatever. And then they get to the match, and Undertaker pretty much looks like he's got the match won, and then the Bariquas and the New Age Outlaws come in, and they start smashing Undertaker. Then Kane's music, Kane and Undertaker had like reconciled in the storylines. He comes down and he destroys everybody, and then Undertaker's just standing there. Then he choke slams Undertaker in a casket. Shawn shuts the lid, and of course they set it on fire, which was a really cool visual. So that was how that one ended.
Yep, that was a fantastic one. 1999 was when Vince won the Rumble. People put that one down as being a bad Rumble. I actually think it was a good Rumble. I think it was a good story. It wasn't anything too new either, because Jimmy Hart had done that with a Junkyard Dog at a Battle Royal in the 80s. He hit under the ring, actually. And at the end of it, he came in and just pushed him over the top, which was hysterical. We talk about that in the interview. Check it out in the archives at WrestlingEpicenter.com.
Yeah, Vince essentially just sits in the announce table the whole time until the end when Austin gets his hands on him. And that was good because people really wanted to see Vince get his comeuppance from Austin. The world title match was the unbelievably brutal match between Rock and Mankind, where Foley's face gets caved in by Rock's chair shots. I mean, if you want to check that out for sheer brutality, go ahead. And the ending of it kind of sucks the air out of it because they have...
I quit. Is that one?
They have the taped "I Quit" over the announcing system, which they revealed the next night on Raw. But
well, did anybody doubt that it was a fake "I Quit"?
Michael Cole.
Oh, I thought maybe Mike...
I don't get it. I don't get why The Undertaker got hit with a chair.
Why'd he quit? Why'd he quit? Sorry. Go ahead.
All right. Royal Rumble 2000, possibly the best Royal Rumble of all time.
I don't remember it.
Okay, I'll walk you through it because I really like this one. It's in MSG, by the way. So,
is this the one where Mae Young takes her top off?
Yeah, but let's forget that.
That's just a black eye on the wrestling business.
Okay. Okay. In the first thing, they've been promoting Taz for weeks with his little thing, and then Angle goes out there. He's obviously on an undefeated streak, and he comes out, and he's like, "You know what? Tonight I'm going to be your champion because I know if we waited for the New York Knicks to bring home a championship, we'd probably be waiting forever." And so he tells the guy, he's like, "Whoever my mystery opponent is, come on out and give it your best shot because one day you can tell your grandkids about it." Taz, obviously the antithesis of Kurt Angle, comes out. The crowd is so into him because they're in New York, obviously. He suplexes the living crap out of Angle, and then he chokes him out with the Taz mission, which Kurt said, I was choked out, it was illegal, I win by DQ, but Taz wins the match. One of the first tables match in WWE history, landmark, between Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys. Hardy Boys win, beat the Dudley Boys at their own game, and actually a well done match. It's a spot fest, but there's some good stuff in there. Of course, followed by the bikini contest. Forget that. Then they had the Intercontinental title match. Jericho and Chyna were co-holders, and of course, Hardcore Holly had been trying to get it. This is when he was actually taken seriously as a contender.
Right.
And Jericho won and became the undisputed champion. The crowd really seemed to enjoy that. Then, of course, one of a great world heavyweight title match, Triple H and Cactus Jack in a street fight match. It's brutal. It's hardcore. It is chock full of psychology, though. In fact, there's a part that's just so brutal when Cactus gets pedigreed on thumbtacks.
Absolutely. I remember that.
Yeah, it's just insane.
They had some really, really good matches together.
Yeah, they do have fantastic chemistry, and that was no exception. Everybody always remembers them for their Hell in a Cell match, just because it's Hell in a Cell. I think if you're going to see any Foley Triple H match, this is the one. Obviously, the Royal Rumble was won by The Rock, last eliminating the Big Show, and obviously footage later showed Big Show was in when Rock's feet were touching, but Rock officially won the Royal Rumble. Pretty good Rumble, had a lot of stars. So, yeah, that was 2000. Do you want to take 2001?
Sure, if I remembered it.
The world title match was Angle and Triple H. Rumble was the one Austin won. It was the Drew Carey one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was a pretty funny one with Kane and Drew Carey.
Yeah, Kane the last eliminated, by the way.
Yes. And then, of course, you go to fast forward to 2002, which was, I believe, the return of Triple H.
Yep, Triple H won, and Jericho and Rock had a fantastic world title match, but the ending made Jericho look so weak. It was like Jericho, I think, low blows him, smashes his head in the exposed turnbuckle, holds his hands down, and puts his feet on the ropes to pin him. When I told James about this, because I think I saw this thing before he did, he's like, what, no machine gun with riddling Rock with bullets?
Yep.
I mean, it's just, of course, they weren't taking Jericho that seriously, which is too bad. Let's head to 2003.
Well, actually, if you want to just go back to 2002 for 1 second, you saw a lot of returns at that one. You saw the return of Kurt Hennig, who unfortunately has passed away. You saw the return of Goldust. So it was pretty, You
saw the return of Val Venus and The Godfather and the Who Train.
Well, yeah. Well.
And you also saw the return of the Count-Out.
Ah, the return of the Count-Out. Let's not explain.
Sorry, people.
Yes.
2003 actually has a very good hidden gem, so to speak. Brock Lesnar versus Big Show. Great power match. It's on WWE Jukebox right now if you want to check that out.
What match is this?
Lesnar versus Big Show. It's actually a really good match between the two. Lesnar sells very well for him. Then, of course, the match where Triple H and Scott Steiner go, and Steiner uses 12,004 suplexes.
Yep. And I think it was about 3 of them hit, the crowd started getting angry. So.
Yeah.
It was just belly-to-belly suplex, underhook suplex, and then the underhook suplex, Steiner fell over.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, I do. And I mean, unfortunately, Scott's body wasn't in the best of shape during that time.
He was
which
muscular.
is really unfortunate because he had a great run in WCW as the champion.
Do you think he was just too hurt?
I really do, because I've seen him capable of much more than that. But you know, we all have bad days. Brock Lesnar, of course, wins the Royal Rumble. He came in at 29, so it was more realistic than most.
Mm.
Of course, everybody will kill me if I don't mention Angle and Benoit. I think it's an overrated match, but I don't think it's bad. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's just not epic enough, which is normally the problem I have with Kurt Angle.
Yes, every one of his matches are pretty much the same thing you can see on Freak TV.
Yeah, so
there's never that gray area where he steps it up a notch, because I think he's already stepping it up a notch.
Yeah.
But that's the problem. Anyway, let's fast forward to 2004. I thought the Rumble was actually pretty good. It was told a good story with Benoit. The elimination was real good. How he had to maneuver the Big Show over the top rope.
Yeah. Well, it's the Big. Sorry, I just want to do these weird show tune versions of their names.
Okay.
Yeah. So also, of course, Triple H and the Heartbreak Kid went one-on-one in a last man standing contest.
Who won that match?
Nobody.
They both got knocked out, right?
Nobody left the ring standing. Yeah, Shawn was fell on his knee at the last second. So he wasn't the last man standing. So yeah. So it could be a good Rumble this Sunday. It could not be. I don't know. But fun fact, Matt Morgan was in the 2004 Royal Rumble. Yes, remember Matt Morgan?
Absolutely not. Is that the one? Is that the one that Big JR, that good old JR said, "This guy's gonna be something. Keep your eye on this guy."
I don't know, but let's go into a fantasy scenario where Matt Morgan is refereeing a match between Bret Hart and The Undertaker, and Matt Morgan accidentally hits The Undertaker with a chair after he's aiming for Bret Hart.
Okay. Here's the announcing, okay?
Okay.
I don't get it. Why'd the guy that's going to be somebody hit him with the chair?
JR, why? I don't understand. Anyone, by the way, we're talking about 97 SummerSlam. Watch the tape and listen to JR's reaction. King and Vince try to explain it to him, but for some reason, the whole time he's like, I don't get it. Why did Shawn hit The Undertaker with a chair? And then we're like, because he was trying to hit Bret. And he missed.
And that's one of the few times JR's messed up. I mean, JR's a real good announcer.
But he did it for weeks, though.
And he did it, and this, I will also say this, I was watching last week's Raw because I stupidly forgot to tape this week's. Snitsky comes in. It was a whole Simon Dean thing, so this is 2 weeks ago, actually. Snitsky came in and he was beating Kane with the weightlifting belt.
Yeah.
And JR said a couple times, Simon Dean wailing away on Kane. So.
Well.
He doesn't make that many mistakes, so when he does, I want to make people know him.
I mean, at Hell in a Cell, the first Hell in a Cell, Bad Blood, they're like, well, I don't recall anyone telling the referee they had to use a chair. He's like, well, he was actually trying to hit Bret, not the other day. He's like, well, I don't agree with that. I was like, you fool. I want to go into a debate with you about that and bet money because I will win. But, yeah, I don't understand. Because he was good all night, and then he does that. So, I have no idea. Obviously, we've got Against All Odds coming up in February with TNA. Mr. Kevin Nash and Jeff Jarrett will be going one-on-one.
Kevin Nash and Jeff Jarrett, and I don't think Kevin Nash could care less based on his promo on Impact last week.
What does he say?
He was just incredibly sarcastic in a way that was, it almost seemed the fact that he just didn't care.
Huh. Well, hopefully we can.
I hope he was kidding. I mean, I hope it's part of the character, I hope. But he was like, and they had members of the international press and DDP sitting in the crowd asking questions.
Really?
Yeah. So they did like a press conference. And it was, let's see, they had one guy from USA Today, which was legit, and the rest of them was like Bill Banks from the TNA website, and DDP, and a couple of people. Thinking to myself, what press do these people have? Oh well.
Oklahoma.
No, that's Ed Ferrara.
I know. Juventud Guerrero, a great defensive lineman from Tijuana State.
Tijuana
The
State.
funniest thing he did was, and I don't like making fun of JR, but this was just funny, when he hit the pinata, he goes,
Candy! 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 That was great. I fell over laughing at that. So many...
Unfortunately, I don't think it's funny to make fun of people's disabilities, though.
No. And I think the winking thing that he did, the half-eye thing, that was a little bit too much. But the impression was good.
Yeah, the impression was dead on. If he had left it to that, it would have been a lot better. He had not won the Cruiserweight title. Yeah, so that's our Royal Rumble preview. We will be...
Anybody else thinking that if you played the 2003 Shut Your Mouth video game and Stone Cold, for whatever reason, comes down and sprays milk on you instead of beer? Milk or soda in the game career mode? They have JR screaming, milk! 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 And I'm thinking to myself, candy! Candy! Sorry.
Well, we thank everyone who's been joining the forums recently. Apparently, the other night, James tells me,
Just last night, actually. Well,
that the site shut down because we had too many visitors. So thank you, everybody, for coming on to the site. And that's a problem we'd like to have more often.
yeah, and so everybody knows that's not going to be a reoccurring problem because they upped our thing by like 500%. But
Yeah,
you
so
people, we're glad you found us. We hope you continue to find us.
tell
If you
your friends.
And yes, absolutely. Tell your friends about us. Tell us that we're not the same old show. We try to keep the language clean so the little guys can listen to us. We try to give you intelligent banter, and basically we try to keep it about wrestling. It's more fun if we just keep it about wrestling.
But now we will debate about 80s David Mamet plays.
Davis who?
Nothing. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so that's about all.
Yeah, why don't we just sign off, and I got a song I want to play.
Okay, well, we want to say thank you once again to all the sites who promoted us. Obviously, PW Insider. We want to thank Bill Apter for coming on the show and spending some time with us. We also want to thank Terry Funk for his time. Much appreciated. And all of you who have come on to the forums and who have come on to the website and joined the...
And all of you listening to this for the past 2 hours, probably.
Yes, we got a lot of feedback, most of it positive. I think actually all of it positive. If you have negative feedback, I mean, no matter what, just tell us. We thank you for
and once again, just don't say you suck. Tell us why we suck if you think that's the case.
Because we know we suck. We just want you to tell us why. But
yes,
we thank you for joining the Wrestling Epicenter community. Hopefully we'll be able to grow and add new sorts of features for you guys. And yeah, so that's all I got.
That's all I got. I want to play a song of Summer Tour 2005. It will be Cinderella, Firehouse, Rat, and Quiet Riot.
The love of a lifetime. Play that song.
You want to play that one? Love of a Lifetime?
Actually, can we play The Zoo by the Scorpions?
Not this week.
Oh. Okay.
Oh. This
I
week.
had Billy Squire last week, so.
Yes, this is my turn. You get it next week.
What are you putting on?
I actually want to play a song by Cinderella that I just love. It's Francine gets a mention in it. I wonder if
Don't know what you got.
We played that. If you want to hear that one, listen to the last LaRue interview. But this time I want to play something off the same album. It's the first song on there. It's called Falling Apart at the Seams. And if you listen to it, Francine.
Falling apart.
If you listen to it, Francine gets a mention.
Does she?
Oh yeah.
I
don't think it's the same one, but they say, "Oh, Francine's much closer now."
And then they're going to do an updated version like, "Oh, Francine Manichine Douglas in 1997," and we're going to know it's her.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'll email Tom Kiefer and let him know that right now.
You sound like AC/DC. Yeah. So hopefully we will have in the near future we will have Hot Rod. Rowdy Piper.
Of course, the American Dream doth the road,
yes,
if you will.
the American Dream. That would be absolutely fantastic. We're going to try to make that happen.
And we're going to have Missy Hyatt join us again just to have fun with Missy. Missy always gets good feedback when she's on, so we'd like to make her a little bit more regular. We're going to introduce a segment called probably our ROH recap or ROH Roundup.
Independent Roundup.
Independent Roundup, yeah, that sounds good.
Roundup. And we can have, like, I don't know, Western music now. Yeah, we're gonna have two guys on, right?
Yes, two guys, my former partners from way back when. This will be Ben Kent and probably Stuart Cooper. These are two guys that always are trying to start a show but never get the funding behind them. So hopefully they'll come on. They're big Ring of Honor marks. We don't agree on much, but we do know that you guys like Ring of Honor, so we want to give you guys something to listen to as well.
Yeah, they're gonna report in about Ring of Honor, a lot of the independent happenings we know. Got a lot of Ring of Honor requests.